Um, oh, here comes Sandy. All right, here comes Sandy. Great. Okay. So, hey, everybody, welcome. My name is Mariah Bruner. I am UCA's Wellness Coordinator serving faculty and staff. Thank you so much for joining me today for part 3, the final session in a 3-part series focused on wellness topics pertinent to UCA faculty members. And before we get started, I always like to remind Be Well participants that if you'd like to earn 5 points for this session, you can take a screenshot or a photo and submit it to your account on My Health Check 360. If it's easier, just email me and I'll get you a little certificate of attendance after today's presentation. What else? Oh, and let's recap. So this is the 3rd session. So the first session, we talked a little bit about faculty wellness best practices. We kind of did a broad overview. Last session, we talked specifically about self-care, and that was in the form of practicing strategies to achieve work-life balance or work-life integration, whichever phrase you prefer. And so today we're going to dive in to talk about resiliency and mental wellness. And these are our learning objectives for today. We are going to define resilience. We are going to explore the practice of mindfulness and some mindfulness resources. And we're going to learn appropriate methods for checking in with colleagues and ways to promote mental wellness here on our campus. So first off, and anybody can jump in here on the chat, or you can unmute yourselves. This is informal. What comes to mind when you hear the phrase resilience? And I know this is kind of like a buzzword. It was a buzzword in the wellness world before COVID, and now you hear it all the time. So what does this actually really mean? What comes to mind when you hear this word? Sticking with something. Good. I love that. Anybody else? Yes. Patty says being able to weather the storms. Yes, that is a great analogy. Ashley concurs. Yes, great. I agree. So let me show you sort of a formal definition. So the American Psychological Association defines resilience as the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant sources of stress, like family and relationship problems, serious health problems, or workplace and financial stressors. And becoming more resilient not only helps you weather the inevitable storms in life, which is mentioned in the chat, great job, it also empowers you to grow and improve your life along the way. And resilience involves behaviors, thoughts, and actions that anyone can learn and develop. So just like building a muscle while you're working out, increasing your resilience takes time and very intentional practice. And the APA outlines 4 components of resilience, and we'll go through these 4 components. So they are connection. So that's really prioritizing those healthy relationships, those supportive relationships, and accepting support from those who care about you. There is wellness, which is really all about taking care of your body. And that can take many forms of self-care. So nutrition, exercise, sleep, mindfulness, hydration, avoiding those vices like alcohol or drugs, things like that. Then we've got healthy thinking, and that's really all about keeping a healthy perspective. So avoiding that irrational thinking, those unhealthy thinking patterns, accepting that change is inevitable, and then keeping a positive attitude or optimistic posture. And then there's meaning, and that's really about finding purpose in life. So that might be found through helping others. So really finding a purpose in life, an outlet. Being a proactive problem solver. So not just succumbing to the circumstances of life, like being proactive in pulling yourself out of bad situations. Also setting and working towards realistic goals, and then identifying tangible signs of growth. So that's what the APA defines as the 4 core components of resilience. And of course, we could probably have a whole week-long conference just on this topic, but we only have 1 hour today. So we are going to focus just on connection and mindfulness. And I'm excited to dive into these topics. So mindfulness is another one of those buzzwords that you hear a lot. And sometimes it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you really don't know what that means. So we're going to talk about that for just a second. So mindfulness is really intentionally taking yourself out of that autopilot mode that we can sometimes get into and instead focus on the present moment while acknowledging and accepting our feelings, our thoughts, and our bodily sensations. So this can be something that you do for a short time every day, like taking just a few moments to acknowledge something positive that's happened in your day. Or this can be something more extensive and kind of more defined, like maybe you attend a daily yoga class or something like that. But again, it's just really being in the present moment and sort of being aware of your body and what you're feeling and what's going on. And so we have got tons of great mindfulness resources with Be Well. So, and there's tons out there on the internet. You just search mindfulness and all things pop up. So you got a ton out there, but I wanted to hone in on just a few that I think are really helpful. So Be Well's actually got an entire education session completely on mindfulness. We also have one on the power of journaling, and they're both excellent. My graduate assistant, Beth Racklin, who's a PhD student here at UCA in counseling psychology, actually delivered both of those presentations, and she did a fantastic job. And those are always available on the Be Well website, uca.edu/bewell on the resources tab. We have everything loaded up to YouTube, but we've got a link there on our page that'll take you to all of our recorded sessions. So if you're interested in learning more about mindfulness and the practice of mindfulness, or specifically about journaling, which is a mindfulness tool, a very powerful one, I would encourage you to visit our webpage for those. Also linked to our webpage are some mini meditations with Health Check 360. And those are free, easy to access. And we're actually going to take a few minutes and we're going to do one together. So I'm going to stop sharing my PowerPoint and I'm going to share a video, and hopefully this works. And what I would encourage you to do, just for privacy as you go through this, is 3 minutes. If you want to turn off your Zoom video, if you have it on, that is totally fine. And we're going to do this together. And just pop in the chat if this doesn't come up on your screen or if you can't hear it. Oh, let me get back to the beginning.
I invite you to take a few moments to focus your attention on your breath. To start, sit comfortably in a chair with your feet flat on the ground. Stop.
Sorry, let me turn up the volume. A lot of people are saying that they don't have any volume. Just 1 second. I'm so sorry. That's not really the point of this. Okay, I think that no one can hear this. I'm so sorry. I thought some of you could, and it was just a low volume, but yes, I'll share the link. I apologize. That is a 3-minute meditation that's really, really straightforward and easy. It's available on our website. I'm sorry that didn't work out. Let me get back to my PowerPoint. We will, maybe I can change my settings toward the end and we can do it again. Okay. All right. You're going to let me know if you can't see my PowerPoint because this might be the day that everything goes wrong for me. Okay, so let me get back to my notes. I have my notes on my phone because I left my notes at home. So I'm telling you, it's that kind of day. Okay, so I was going to ask you about your reactions to this. So I guess we can't really do that. But what do you think about adding a short mindfulness exercise to a stretch break at work or during your lunch break at work? Ashley, you're very kind. She said Friday the 13th strikes again. No worries. Thank you for your graciousness. I apologize. What do you all think about that? Does anybody do this? Does anybody practice mindfulness throughout the day? Have you ever thought about maybe pulling up a little video on YouTube to just sort of take a moment and be present? I'd love to hear about that. Or if you think this is totally ridiculous, I'd love to hear that too. What do you all think? Ari says, I think it's worthwhile. Yeah. I think that we all get so busy that it's so easy to go into that autopilot mode. And so to pull ourselves out of that, we really have to have some tools in our toolbox to really say, okay, wait, I got to get out of this autopilot mode and just kind of take a moment. So yes, I think this can be really, really helpful. Kim says she's mindful when she eats and when she's doing things yes. One of the things that we talked about in our recorded mindfulness session that I said you could access on our webpage is we talk about that. That is something that we talk about in our weight management and our diabetes education and prevention programs is being mindful when we eat. So taking the time to sit at a table and just be present. When you put it in your mouth, what's the texture? What does it taste like? What emotion do you feel when you eat? Those are all really important ways to be mindful throughout our day. Ari's stretching right now. Awesome. Penny says it's one of those things I intend to do, but never actually do. Penny, I'm kind of there with you. You know, we're all on a journey, right? And sometimes it just doesn't happen. But hopefully this is a nice resource when the audio works that you can do at your desk. Donna, I haven't done it much yet though. Yeah, good in theory. It's hard to practice and stop and do it. Yep. Sandy downloaded an app called Pause on her phone that gives you a moment pause. I love that. Yeah, there are tons of apps out there. Some are free, some just cost a little bit of money, but yeah, you can just go on your phone and do a little quick mindfulness session. That's great. Judy says when she was working from home, I did do this. It was easier when I was working from home. Totally get that. You know, when we're back on campus, some of us don't even have private offices. And so that might feel a little strange. And so, you know, I would encourage you to try to find your special spot on campus where you can maybe get away from for a moment, even that if that's just an empty hallway or a break room, or maybe even go out to your car. Yeah, there's a garden outside a building that you can sit in. Yes, that's great. Great. Kim says she needs to be mindful of road rage. That's funny. Yeah, so just keep this in mind. Again, I'm just trying to, part of my job as wellness coordinator is I'm just trying to give you different tools that you can use to promote your personal wellness. And this is just one of those tools. I've lost my mouse. There we go. So now let's talk about connection. That was the other aspect of resilience that I wanted to speak to today. So we're going to switch gears just a little bit. So connecting with empathetic and understanding people can remind you that you're not alone in the midst of difficulties. We all have difficulties, and it's nice to hear that other people have them too. So you want to focus on finding trustworthy and compassionate individuals who will validate your feelings And that in itself will support the skill of resilience. Because remember, we talked about, like, even with the mindfulness, we want to be able to know what we're feeling. We want to label those feelings. We want to be okay with those feelings. And we want to just take a moment and let those feelings set in. It is absolutely okay to feel. And that's what we want to acknowledge, is those feelings. And connection can be done with those relationships in your personal life, but it can also be done here in the workplace. We want to make our workplace culture a supportive environment that promotes meaningful connections among coworkers. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how to do that. So I'm going to share some great tips from Dr. Chad Morris. He's a professor of psychiatry at the University of Colorado. And he supports the idea of creating a culture of wellness in the workplace with 3 simple steps. It's the ask, listen, and connect model. And I've mentioned in previous sessions in this series that we don't have to be afraid of conversations with our coworkers. There is an appropriate way to check in with the people we work with. And when we do this, when we have sort of an open dialogue culture, we help reduce the stigma around mental health, and we normalize help-seeking behaviors. And so we're going to explore this ask, listen, and connect model. So first, with ask, you are going to want to ask open-ended questions. You're going to want to ask questions that offer sincere care and interest. And you're going to ask questions that extend an invitation to talk. So we all fall into that habit of, hey, how are you? Great, good, doing fine. Like that real surface level, like we don't really want to know how the person is feeling. We just say that to be nice. And so this is really more intentional. And so here's a really great example of this. We want to open up the dialogue, and this is a great question to do that with. This COVID time is stressful. How are you doing? Like, genuinely ask that question. That is such a nice, open-ended question. I think we can all relate to that opening statement. This COVID time is stressful. I think no one can disagree with that. And then it opens up for that dialogue. So that's just an example. Here's some other examples. How are you feeling? That's a little bit more specific than, hey, how are you? It's how are you feeling? Again, that's drawing out that here, let's be in this present moment. How are you feeling right here, right now? How are things going for you? What are you doing to take care of yourself? I love that question. Wouldn't that be amazing if we all asked each other that on a daily basis on our campus? That would be a game changer. So I really like that one. Let me check the chat because I think there's some conversation. Oh, good. Penny said she downloaded the Pause app. Thanks, Sandy. Mariah, can you make your PowerPoint smaller? Can everybody see my PowerPoint? Is there an issue with it? Let me know in the chat if there's something going on with it. Because I don't think I can. Okay, moving on. Sorry, Penny, if it's cut off. We'll get you the slides. Okay, Judy says she can see it. Okay, good. Thanks, guys. Thanks for bearing with me today. Fridays are rough. Okay, so the next step is you are going to listen to the response. So you're going to ask a question, and then you're going to listen to the story. You're going to reflect and validate their experience and what they're going through, and you're going to try to focus on the positive. So that's important too. So we don't just want to ask the question. We want to take the time and sit down and listen. So here's some examples of how to do that. So you're going to engage in active listening, focus on the person and their experience, reflect back on what you hear the person say. So that an example of that is, okay, so Penny, I'm just going to use it. So Penny, I hear you saying that you're stressed out because you're hearing, the COVID numbers are going up, and you're worried about what's going to happen over the holidays with everybody getting. I hear that. I hear your concern, and so you're just giving that oral feedback. Maintain appropriate eye contact. Validate from your perspective as a peer who has experienced a similar situation. There's always a balance with that. You don't want to make the conversation about you either. So you don't want to be like, oh, I totally know what you're going through this one time when I did this, and then the story becomes about you. That's not what this is saying. This is just saying that you are hearing them and you are letting them know that you also struggled too. That's really what this is about, so that they can hear they are not alone in that distress. And then the third part, so we did ask, listen, and then there's connect. So you want to offer the opportunity to check in again. And then you may want to refer them out when you can see they're really struggling. It is wonderful to point to resources we have here at UCA, and that's very appropriate. You don't have to call and make the appointment for them, but you can say like, hey, these are some resources we have available. Maybe you should check them out. So we have the Employee Assistance Program here at UCA. I talk about it a lot. It's a fantastic resource. So that is mental health counseling and a resource with just basically all areas of mental wellness. So someone can call and make an appointment. They can do an in-person visit or a telemed visit, so over video conference or just over the phone, and it's completely free of charge. Your immediate family members are also allowed to use the service, so it's fantastic. And usage has gone up during the pandemic, so that does reflect that our employees are definitely needing more support. And so I know there's others out there that could use this as well. And here's a few little tips about connection. So you'll want to say things like, I'm available to talk again. Let's continue this conversation. I want to check in with you again. Let's plan another time to check in. What kinds of resources would be helpful to you? That opens up a little bit more dialogue. And then who are some other people you want to reach out to for support? Because you know you can't be that person, especially if you just work with that person. You only see them maybe 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday, or when we're working at home sometimes and at the office sometimes, maybe we don't even see that person on a regular basis. So asking them who else in their life can be that sounding board and that support system, again, just kind of opens up a dialogue and helps them think through, okay, what's next? Who else can I turn to? And that's really important. So we also need to talk about things that we don't want to do. And let's just go through that list. So we don't want to try to fix the person's problem. This is not about that. This is about asking and opening up the dialogue, listening and connecting with the person to form a relationship. You are not trying to fix their problem. You are going to want to avoid giving unsolicited advice because, again, that's not what this is about. It's not about you, it's about them and what they're going through. You are not going to act as a therapist. You are not going to focus on action. And I know that one's kind of like, well, that's weird. Why would you not want to do something about the problem? That's not what this means. Focus on action, not focusing on action means you don't want to basically shut them down and be like, well, that's a silly problem because you could do X, Y, and Z to solve it. That's really not helpful. And that's also kind of going into that unsolicited advice category. So just be really careful with that. You can focus on the positive without making a suggestion about how to fix it. You don't want to break confidentiality. That's super important. If someone comes to you in confidence, you have to be, tight-lipped about it. No one else needs to know their business. So really respect that relationship that you've created. And then do not ever make someone talk before they are ready. I would just say use that kind of opening dialogue of how are you doing? Things are really stressful right now. What's going on? Let's talk. But you kind of need to know when people are ready for that. So don't force the conversation. So I'd love to know your thoughts on this. What are your reactions to ask, listen, connect? Is this something that you already do here at UCA? Is this something that you're sort of intrigued by? Are you comfortable using these strategies? What are your thoughts? You can unmute yourselves or you can use the chat.
think the strategy makes sense to me. Part of the point is to be concerned about your fellow coworkers. I mean, some people might not be, but we don't tend to think about how important it is to the other person. Reaching out to somebody and offering yourself your time to listen for a minute or two can be, really helpful to someone else.
Yeah. And you might be the only person to ask them that day of what's going, how are you? How are things going? I mean, a lot of employees at UCA live alone. And we're socially distancing during a global pandemic. And so, if you're that person they see every day at work, it's just nice for someone to check on you. So wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if all the employees at UCA knew that there was someone just to ask them that question every day? How are you doing? I think that would be really, really wonderful. And I think we are a very family-oriented culture. We are a UCA family, so I think we do this very well. But I think these are very specific ways that you can go about this. Someone said in the chat, I often struggle with not knowing what to ask. Yeah. So hopefully this gives you some options. I'll share these slides with Jessica and she'll get them out to you. And maybe those few slides that have those suggestions on there, maybe you print those out and put them up in your office just so you kind of have a starting point. Ashley says, in terms of listen, I have to really try not to insert my own story too much. Totally understand. I do that all the time. I want people to know they're not alone, but I struggle with that too. You can make it seem like you're turning the conversation back to yourself. Yes, I struggle with that too. I'm really just trying to be sympathetic and empathetic with them. And yes, it's very hard. It's a fine line to walk. You don't want to make it about yourself. Judy says, I think this is a good way to help each other. I too struggle with knowing what to ask without making the other person feel awkward. Yeah. Ari says, always use, it's in my nature to check in with friends, coworkers, and families. Yes. Ari, I'm getting to know you and I can see that in you for sure. And Jackie, great prompts on how to check in without being intrusive. Thank you, Jackie. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think these are good too. And of course, like I said, these are not my ideas. I'm sharing them. And these are pretty well established. The ask, listen, connect is something that you see a lot in counseling. But I just thought they're so good. I wanted to share them with you and hopefully we can all take them back and apply these concepts because they really are quite simple if you think about it. Does anybody else have any comments, thoughts?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to say, these are very well established, but one of the cool things about it and the challenging things about it is that it's actually pretty new, right? I mean, in the 1990s, I feel like the culture promoted the first portion where you were talking about, you say, how are you today? Good day, sir. And kind of, carry on smartly. And so I just think it's really quite an encouraging thing to find out that, that the society largely has acknowledged that wasn't enough and that we need to do better to try and reach out. So it's good stuff.
For sure. Yeah. I'm going to take a moment. Anybody else want to share? What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to share the audio on my screen and maybe we can get back to that mindfulness session real quick. Let me see what I can do here. Okay, you guys are going to have to, I know I can do this. Is it okay? Yeah, I think I got it. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I think I've got it.
As you breathe in,
Let me know if you can hear this.
I invite you to take a few moments to focus your attention on your breath. To start, sit comfortably in a chair with your feet flat on the ground, or sit on the ground with your legs gently crossed. Wherever you are sitting, try to use good posture, keeping your back straight with a slight lift in your chest while relaxing your shoulders down and back. Gently close your eyes and relax your jaw. As we get started, simply observe your breath without trying to change it. Notice if you are inhaling and exhaling through your nose or mouth. As you inhale, is your breath landing in your chest or your belly? Do you find that you are breathing quickly or slowly? Try not to change or judge how you're breathing, just become aware. Now as you inhale, breathe in through your nose all the way into your belly. Notice that the air is cooler as you inhale and warmer as you exhale. Feel the rise of your belly as you breathe in and the fall of your belly as you breathe out. As you breathe in, try to fill all of your midsection with air. Breathe into the front, the back, and each side of your midsection. Take a few moments to practice this. It is normal for your mind to wander when sitting silent. Don't let this upset or discourage you. Simply notice that it happened and redirect your thoughts back to your breath. Allow yourself a few more moments to remain focused on your breath. Your breath can help you through times of stress, fear, pain, and excitement with a little practice. I encourage you to take time to focus on your breath several times throughout the day and week. It may be just for a few seconds or for several minutes. As this recording comes to an end, I invite you to take all the time you need to sit silently, focused on your breath.
Isn't that awesome? Yeah, it's really awesome. It just takes 3 minutes and you can totally transform your day. So that's just one option. Again, that's linked to the BeWell webpage, uca.edu/BeWell. I'm actually going to put that in the chat. And you can find your other options out there too. That's just one, but that's always up there. It's free. There's two other ones actually on the link that's on our page. There's a body scan, and then there's a slightly longer meditation as well. But for a stretch break during your workday, you can just sneak this in. It's just easy. And Penny says it's great that he acknowledged that it's normal to let our minds wander. Yeah, especially if you're not used to it. Remember, we talked about how mindfulness is really a practice, and being resilient, you have to build your capacity to be resilient. And so that's not something that we are all born with. We have to work on it. So this is just one of those tools we can use to work on it. So I hope this was helpful. I always love sharing these tips with all of you. I think I'm going to officially adjourn us, but if anybody wants to stay on and chat, ask any questions about this or about BeWell, I'm here. I'll stick around for a few minutes, but thank you all for tuning in today and sharing your lunch hour with us. Have a great day.
Did you tell everybody that the at least the second Zoom meeting is available as a stream? Because I went there by mistake until I realized that it said October 14th or whatever. And it was, and then I also noticed you're recording this, so I assume that's what you do with all of these.
I do. So let me give you a link to our YouTube channel. Our videos are so long that if I put them on the website, it would clog everything up. And so Marketing Communications has asked us to put them on YouTube. So let me share that link with you real quick in the chat. 1 second. Let me see if I can get to it.
The second session was actually both. There's the link in your email that I thought was the link to join this meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But it was actually what the link did is it brought up the second meeting. And then I also somehow got it on the exact same thing on YouTube. So it's actually on both places right now, the second one.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume the first one someplace.
Yeah, everything should be on YouTube. Hopefully that works for you. Usually there's actually here, hold on. I am not my best today, guys. I know how to do all this stuff. Today is just not working out. Here we go. Try this link instead. I gave you my subscriber link. Try that page, that second link. That's got everything on there. That's got all of our recorded education sessions. It's got the first two in this series, and then later this afternoon, when Jessica sends over the recording, I'll load this one up to that as well onto our channel. So everything should be there. I'm sorry for the confusion about today's. I'm not sure what happened. I think in my email, I was saying if you missed last time, you can watch it. Trying to get people caught up.
Yeah, well, that's what happened, but I didn't realize that what was going to happen. But actually, I was happy about it because it's great that I can get caught up.
Good.
You did such a good review on the second one. You opened up with a review of the first one.
That's right. Yes, that was the first one. There was very low attendance, and so I kind of wanted to get everybody up to speed. So yeah, it was a little bit of a review. You caught on to that, yes. I'm so glad you joined us today.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad I'm here.
Mariah, how do we get the points on this one?
You can screenshot right now if you want, or I can send you a certificate. What's best for you, Uma?
Whichever is easy.
Okay, well, you know what? You want me to send you a certificate?
Okay.
Okay, I'll do
Thanks.
that. You're welcome.
This was a good session.
Good. You all are so gracious. I hate when things go wrong. And I knew about the sharing. It's just like as soon as you get on with a bunch of people, it's like your brain you forget how to do things. So I appreciate your patience. But yeah, such good stuff. This is stuff I've learned over the years from other people, and it's just great. It's just good stuff. Really helps you connect with people.
Bye.
Bye. Good to see you.
Yeah, the meditation part I thought was that's a great idea. People think that meditation is some kind of big deal, and it's I mean, it really doesn't need to be. Just exactly that short couple of minutes. I'm so used to doing it. I just drop right into it. I don't know if other people do, but it's amazing that within probably 10 seconds, it's very clear to my body that I have shifted into a different consciousness, and it just all just kind of just melts into this new reality.
Yeah.
So I really think it's awesome that you're sharing that with the UCA community.
Good. I think a lot of people are maybe intimidated because they think there has to be a spiritual component to it, which there can be, of course. I mean, you can make it whatever you want. If you want to pray during that time, that is fine. But it really doesn't have to be about that. It's very accessible to everybody. And, it's just really taking a moment to pause and just be, which is something we don't do very often in our crazy, lives right now. We're just all so busy.
Did you say for attendance points that's that's accomplished simply by being here, or I didn't understand fully?
You know what, Stephen, I can send you a certificate of attendance. Some people, what they do is they'll just snap a photo on their phone, like during the presentation, and then they'll submit it on My Health Check 360 as proof. But sometimes that's just too complicated. I'll just send you a certificate. I'm going to make one for Uma, so I can just send one to you as well.
Okay, now what do we do with it?
Well, if you want 5 points, you can submit it to My Health Check 360. Are you a Be Well participant?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Oh, of course. I'm sorry. Yes, we've had extensive conversation. Again, Friday. Brain is not working. Yes. I can walk you through in the email. I'll explain how you can get your points for it.
Great. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. No problem. Then when you go in there, you can see all the other things you can get points for too. Probably things that you're already doing. So you might as well get rewarded for it.